Hello, I'm Ashley, the engineer at Andover Norton, and something that crops up, not just on a regular basis, but on a daily basis, is people ring in, oh, I haven't got part numbers, or how do you do this? It suggests to me that they haven't got a parts book or a workshop manual. Now, realistically, if you're going to have a bike like an old British classic motorcycle like a Triumph or a Norton Commando, Norton Dominator, it would make sense to get a parts book at the very minimum, and maybe a parts book and a workshop manual. We do have the books available to purchase. This is just a tiny selection of what we do have, and even when you look online, when you scroll through it, even that's a tiny section of what we got in some of the drawers, because we got stuff related to really odd motorcycles down in the drawers that we're never going to see. And it was some leftovers from, I think it was JR Publications many years ago, but we still have those that we can copy as well. And there's some real obscure stuff going back to 1907, 1908 and amongst that lot. Now, here we have a selection of the Triumph and Norton stuff. The workshop manuals for the Triumphs, I believe these encompass a range of models, whereas a Triumph parts book, these tend to come out about every 2 months through the life of a model. Every time they change something, a new parts book come out. And especially when they add UK and US models, it seems each model had its own parts book. So it is a bit of a hard one when people ring up and say it's for a Triumph. Is it import? Is it UK model, etc., etc.? Because some of the models that went to the US were unique in the fact that they had different parts fitted to them. I know that because I picked up a tank and somebody laughed at me. If you can get £1 for that on eBay, I'll be impressed. I got 104 quid for it because it was a US petrol tank only fitted for 9 months. And I did well out of that one. Now, you can see here, it's not just the Norton publications, the workshop manuals and the parts books that you're used to seeing. There's also other publications out there that are really useful. Norton Twin Restoration, Roy Bacon's. If you've just got a road going bike, absolutely brilliant book. The information in it is most probably as accurate as anything I have seen. It's not 100% accurate. No book is ever going to be that accurate. The reason I know it's not that accurate, because when I look on drawings and also look through the actual factory records, some of the numbers, though they might be correct on here, there were other models earlier than what's suggested in this book. Things like the Mark III. There was 25 Mark IIIs that still had the pre-325 numbers. Of course, we don't know where those bikes have gone. We know that they're made, we know where they're shipped, but we don't know where they are now. You got another good book here, which is Norman White's. Now, this is a book that Norman White produced, and in there's all the useful hints and tips for the average owner to read and think about and then try themselves. I can imagine Norman could have wrote volume 1, 2 and 3 to this book, but realistically this book, from what feedback I get, is great. A lot of people do read this one. It's most probably something they've had for Christmas. Now, talking about Christmas, a couple of good books sat on the very end here, and you will see these online. Normally on eBay, or you might even see them around second-hand shops, auto jumbles and things like that. One's Norton by E.M. Franks. E.M. Franks was a service engineer for Norton back in the Bracebridge Street days. If you can find those, you normally see them go from anywhere between 5 quid and 15 quid a book. Just make sure they're complete, and make sure it also covers the model that you wish to use the book for. Some of these, there's about 6 or 7 different editions. Of course, every 3 or 4 years when new models come out, they extended the edition to cover those models. And the other one, which is not as good as the red book, the E.M. Franks and the Norton books, but it's still a very good book, the Book of Norton by Haycraft. A little bit more broad-based in the information it contains on how to do things, etc. But then again, a lot of these books from this period, they actually assume that most men of the day, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because this day men and women now maintain their motorcycles, but back then it was assumed that the man of the house maintaining his bike to get to work would have some knowledge of how to use spanners, pullers, etc., and how to change out and swap out bearings with a little bit of heat, etc., etc. Now, if you've got any queries about this, these manuals and many others will be in the links to the video. And likewise, if you've got any other questions, please look at our website, look at other people's websites, because you will see the books advertised elsewhere, especially the Bacons and like Norman White's book, and some of the Franks and the Haycraft books are all advertised around the website. There's also a lot of other information on the website, always worth looking there. Some of the historic sites that are still going, but they're not actually kept updated, are still a useful source of information. They were good 20 years ago and they're good today. And likewise, if you can't find anything on them, feel free to get in touch with myself and Simon. At the moment, we're answering emails most probably somewhere in the region of 3 days out. It shows you how busy we are. People are ringing in for parts as well. I'd like to point out now, if you're ringing in for parts and we need to dig out the part numbers for you and put the order on the system, it's going to take 2 or 3 days to do that. So there's a good chance we get to the middle of the week, you won't get bits for the weekend. We're just too busy at the moment trying to put stuff on shelves at the moment due to the huge number of sales and queries we've got coming in. Now, thanks very much for that. Hope you enjoyed the video and look forward to the next one.